Alrighty, welcome back, everyone. Um, I apologize for having to do this on a Saturday. Every month, Sunday will be taken up with my wife's position at our local church, and they have meetings after church, and I cannot get home because she cannot drive. Okay, her eyes, and I don't want to have to rely on people. Everybody lives away from our home. It would be out of their way to bring her home. So although they have volunteered, but I'd rather not. I'd rather keep my eye on her. I don't even attend the meetings. I have to stay outside. I go to a room where there's a piano and I practice. I used to play the piano. But anyway, so every month it'll be on a Saturday, but the rest of the Sundays after that, it'll be the normal 12 o'clock noon on a Sunday. So welcome everybody. We have about 13 of us here. Please join us on the chat. We have how many? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Couple more of you should join. Tell us who you are, where you're watching from. Tell us what it is that you use, what kind of cameras you have, what kind of printers you're using. Is there anything you would like to know about anything? Just ask. As far as it's about printing, just ask, and then we will try to answer here. I see Peter is here. That's good because we're going to be doing that test using the two different rendering intents with a set of prints. I also have a black and white print in this layout, so we'll see how they perform at different types of rendering intents, relative and perceptual. we'll also do a test with black point compensation on and off. That'll be later on today, so hang in there. Now, um, the other day, in fact, what's today? Saturday. So Thursday, um, Howard Harold, what's his last name? I keep forgetting. My brain is dead right now. Came to visit. That's Captain Donzi. He's here with us, and he came from Richmond to visit me. And actually, he was going to take a printer to the University of Maryland because his wife's cousin, I believe, is the fraternity photographer, and they need a good printer, and that's about as good as it gets for this type of situation. So he came over anyway because apparently the person was not available, but he did come over and he brought me a bunch of stuff. I also gave him the box with the pre-filled. I think it was two sets of cartridges for the P600, which he happens to have one. The only problem is it's got issues with nozzles. So he brought me a box. Get this. I'll show it to you. Not a box, but a container with several empty sets and some piezography or the piezo flush ink. Um, they like to use, Inkjet Mall loves to use the piezo word, whatever that may be or mean. But piezo flush, basically, where did I put it at? I had it here with me. Here we go, right behind me. So, two bottles of this. He already attempted to load one of them with it. As you can see, what up? Let me flip it over. There it is. You don't have to fill it to the top. The only thing you have to be careful with some of these refillable cartridges, let me put it back here for it to be safe, is that some cartridges require you to prime it. In other words, there's a compartment that needs to be primed. It doesn't get ink automatically, and you prime it via a vacuum method. As easy as can be when you have your little seal right here in the exit port. You basically fill it up to a certain level, maybe three-quarters full. You insert, let me get one ready. Oh, I have one right here. The syringe in that port, and then just suck back, create a vacuum, and then you let go. And that vacuum then fills this chamber right here. That is the priming chamber. Without doing that, ink will not flow properly. So, people that have some issues, and when a syringe is new, look at this. It's just smooth as can be. These syringes are not meant to be reused. Realistically, they become this. Ugh. They become that. Look at that requires a lot of pressure. You're not going to do an automatic vacuum priming with a syringe like this. So it'll be great for extracting ink out of other cartridges and so forth. So anyway, once you get these cartridges filled with a piezo flush, you remove your original ones, whether they are OEM or ones you've been refilling, and insert those and then start doing cleaning cycles. So you're going to first do a nozzle check just to have it as a background, as a baseline. It's going to have the colors and then whatever the channel or channels that are giving you problems, they will show up as missing lines. You insert the ones with the pink fluid, and that's a secret formula, by the way. I wish I could figure out what that was. Someone actually tried and supposedly got it, but anyway, I haven't heard anything else after that. So, cleaning cycle, nozzle check. And you're going to be doing that until you no longer see any colors. The only color that your nozzles, your print, in other words, will have is pink. If the area, the channel or channels that had missing lines, all of a sudden now are printing pink, you're good to go. At that point, you can just remove the piezo flush filled cartridges, insert your regular ink cartridges, cleaning cycle, nozzle check, and I would recommend a couple of cleaning cycles, at least two of them, to make sure that piezo flush has been flushed out. No pun intended. And it really works very well. Also, one hidden um, advantage, if you want to call it that. Once I remember years ago, I used to follow the technician, their head technician at PSO, not PSO, at Inkjet Mall. And she would recommend, and she was a beautiful young lady, and she was an expert in large format Epson printers. This is all they handled back in those days. I think now they're dealing with ink for Canon and large format Canon printers, but not so much. She said that if you're going to store your printer for a given amount of time, whether it is a year or 2 years, and I did that, and it worked. Remove your regular ink cartridges, install PSO flush filled cartridges in that printer, and run cleaning cycles until you get nothing but pink in your nozzle check. If you try to print something, it'll be a kind of a pinkish looking mess anyway. It'll have detail, but it'll be all just pink. And then power off, pull the plug, put it in a bag if you want to, a plastic bag, and it'll be fine. In a year or two, it will be fine. This stuff does not evaporate. Okay. So there is no such thing as your printhead drying, just because you're not using it. Now, another thing that you must do if you're going to store something, such as a printer, start it up from off, open the lid. As soon as you hear the printhead moving, pull the plug, move it over to the side, and carefully with a long Q-tip, clean that gasket. Make sure that gasket is clean because the printhead is going to seal itself against it, and you want that seal to last 2 years. Okay, that's the only reason for this. Make sure there's no ink on it. In fact, I would dribble some Spiesa flush on the pad itself. It may become whitish looking as the liquid drains through and washes away any collective ink on it. I've had it become almost white, not quite pure white, but almost white. And at that point, I wipe that little rectangular gasket. You'll see what I'm talking about if you just take a look at your purge pad. Be careful, purge pads move, and so you could knock it out of alignment. Don't do that. Be careful. Wipe it nice and clean, and then proceed to power it back on. When it reaches to the right, go ahead and power it off at the button and also at the plug. And then you can put it in a bag to maintain. In fact, some people say put a wet sponge inside. Just open up the lid and put a wet sponge inside. And then simply just put it away and it should be fine. Um, Later on, when time says, hey, Joe, it's time for you to start printing again, just power it back on. It's going to probably, whether it's an Epson or a Canon, it's going to run a clean cycle, run that nozzle check, make sure it's all pink, and then remove the cartridges and then install the new cartridges in place. Okay. I have a program that's asking me to update it, so I am not going to do that right this minute. Okie doke. So that is it for that. Let me go ahead and begin to say welcome to everybody here. I'm going to go ahead and actually fill this one in front of you all. Okay, right here. This is a black, but it doesn't matter. Photo black. We'll fill it with the magic pink liquid. Anyway, all right. So let's see. HZ is here from the Netherlands in fair and sometimes weather. It's beautiful today. Kind of cloudy out, and I don't even think it's hit 80 yet. It's like in the mid 70s, upper 70s. Netherlands in fair and sometimes wet weather. An appointment today was rescheduled. So on the flip side of that, I'm able to attend. Awesome. Or at least partly attend the live stream today. Smiley face. Well, I'm so happy to hear that. Sad that your appointment was delayed, but happy to have you here. Richard Bender, I just saw your prize winning photos this past Wednesday again. Um, you guys always come through. I had to quickly go through there because we brought an extra boy with us. And even though Nathan sort of likes photography a lot, in fact, I gave him my D 3300 to take photos with on that day. And I'll tell you a little bit more after that. Um, what he pulled on me. But anyway, it's fine. I'm happy with it. But the other boy, he just wanted to go do stuff. So I went in and looked at the stuff that your ribbons, as always. Gosh, you guys just don't miss if you get what I mean. So congratulations. He's now preparing for the next one in September. Where's that going to be? Um, because that's upcoming pretty soon. My 8550 is up to the job. You've been working that thing to death. I hope it continues to service you. And I love that printer. And I am very grateful that was provided for me by Rick Johnson. He wanted me to have one, and then he had accessories for it to sell. So he asked me if I would go ahead and promote some of that stuff, and I did test it, and it's great. In fact, I'm running one of his own wasting cartridges on mine at the moment, and it's working just fine. If you want to access any of the links for the companies that I support or associate with, just go to the Show More section, and you will see that little link, that little app link, and then just go ahead and save it. Put it on your browser so that it's always there to access if you need it. Okay. Photo Nikon 780, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Canon Pro 1100, Ecotank 8550, XP 15000, OEM inks, and papers plus Red River, Ilford, Canson, and Staples. Print Prism, QMH Ultimate 116. So I tested the most recent update. I went through several beta versions, and I know last week the P200, the Pro 200 did not get recognized. In other words, it was there, but it would not print an nozzle check. Now it does. So I can only presume that every Pro Canon printer and Epson printer that is semi-modern, up to date to this day, will be able to print an nozzle check through Q image. You no longer have to go through the either the screen on your printer or the driver directly. You can just within inside Q image you can access that. And I would just suggest just schedule it. If you're not printing for a whole week and you want to run an nozzle check every other day, just set it for every 2 days at 12 midnight or whatever, and it will do that for you. The only catch is you have to minimize a key image. When you try to close it, it'll ask you if you want to close it or you want to minimize it. Just minimize it. As long as your power doesn't go out, it will begin to perform that scheduling. And it's a lot better than having to print a whole image just to keep your printer happy. That way, when you come back to print, it's happy, everything is cleared. In fact, just run out on the nozzle check and see. It'll tell you. All right. Photo Nikon also says, thanks to Mike and Canon Pro 1100 nozzle check now works through QMH Ultimate. There you go. Great work, Mike, and master of everything and printing tools. Oh, is he ever? Yes, is he ever? Captain Dauncey, welcome, my friend. My wife was saying, is he really a captain? I said, no. That's just his nickname. Sonny Richmond, Pro 100, Sony 877, 865, 8350, Coney Omega 2.25 by 3.25 roll camera. I'll let you know when this is all done. We're going to do one more here. I will do everything you have there assuming that what I'm going to do is I'm not going to go ahead and fill this up any further. I mean, as you can see, this is plenty. And I want to make sure that there's enough PSO flush for both sets of cartridges you sent to me or you brought over for me. And I haven't told my daughter about that Hallmark card making software set. She's going to flip. I'm going to go ahead and just make copies of it. All right, Harold Davies, beautiful. Oh, sunny and beautiful across Wisconsin. Canon Pro 1100, Econac 8550, PSC, PCSE, QMH PP, and two young deer were focused on me as a jogger ran past them from the opposite direction. Hopefully, I just ran into that the other day, just yesterday, I think it was. We were at, what did we do yesterday? We did Meals on Wheels in the morning, and yeah, they had little spots on them on the parkway. Yeah. And I thought, wow, this is weird because we haven't seen deer lately. I used to see like little small, groups of them, but all of a sudden it's like we stopped seeing them and we wonder what the heck is going on. I see them at Nathan's Woods, but not really where the normal places we used to run into them. Not run into them. You get what I mean. Pete Grovell is here, 1100 OEM Inks, Moab Slick Rock Metallic Pair, finish at A2 size. I was here last week. My chat wouldn't work. Oh, okay. Well, now you're here, and now the chat is working. So back there, oh, jeepers. Watch what you're doing. God. Let me carefully point. If you see back there, that is a sub glossy paper, probably the best glossy paper I have. And we're going to be doing a test. Somebody just said last week that it's not going to do anything, but we'll see. I'm gonna put it through its paces. We're going to go ahead and do the perceptual as well as the other one, which I keep forgetting. Um, uh, and then we'll do one with black point comp on and off at the same time. The same set of, I think it's 4 images that I loaded into a collage, and I have it all saved in QImage, which is great because now I can go back and recall it, if you will, and not have to wonder what images did I use. Yeah, because I forgot 2 minutes ago. Anyway, Steve Excel is here, London, UK, Epson P800 refillable cartridges, OEM and decanted ink, X-Rite i1 Studio, QImage, Photoshop Epson V500, Nikon Z7 II. All righty. Richard Bender, next photo competition is at Lake Lingano. Okay, you told me that. Yes. Called the Brunswick Community Fair. Okay. Oh, excuse me. JFFGRFFN. I couldn't even begin to pronounce that. Hello from rainy Michigan. Canon Pixma Pro 100 successfully flushed, dried, and refilled 2 yellow cartridges a night and refilled the other 7 carts using Precision Colors inks this week. Thank you. Okay, so in fact, last night, a video went up of my backups years ago. Any update for the Pro 1000? Yeah, the 1100. That's it. Oh, I'm sorry. No, not yet. Nothing. I will, when I get the nerve, I will go ahead and jump on that. But anyway, what was I going to say now? See what happens. Okay. Yellow cartridges. There's no longer, according to Precision Colors, a need to flush the yellow cartridge. That's it. That is, if you are just removing the ball yourself, drilling the hole to 5/32 of an inch very carefully so that it is perfectly round and not oblong, inserting a plug, make sure that it is actually tight. I would suggest when you perform this operation, you better load one of these on there, on that cartridge, the OEM cartridge, before you begin to do any kind of drilling, ball removal, drilling, and so forth. Otherwise, you're going to have ink all over yourself. It's just going to drain. So then once this is drained, and this is assuming, say you ran them until they were empty, okay, declared by the chip as being empty, the sponges are still going to be looking a bit saturated. This is saturated because I removed the ball and modified it. Now the normal look of a OEM partly used cartridge, it doesn't show up as that way. It's all completely saturated all the way to the top. Okay. Now, what you have to do now is just simply remove the ball, drill, fill. Get a clip on it first, and then fill. Fill 3/4 of the way only. Okay, let it reabsorb the sponge, and then hold this over a cup or a glass or whatever. Remove the clip, remove the plug. It will drip, 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 drip. If it doesn't drip, 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 drip at that approximate rate, you have some kind of blockage. Okay. So hopefully that will not be the case. If you do have an issue with the flow of ink, you're going to have to just flush the whole thing out. Okay. But today, in fact, PC Signature Edition inks for the Pro 100 are more like the ones for the Pro 200 than the original OEM Pro 100 inks. They are far superior as far as output quality. We're not talking longevity, output quality. The new meaning years ago actually, the PC 42 SE inks are superior. Okay. So I would not be too concerned about having to flush an original cartridge. This is only if you want to do this yourself. Buy them from Rick Johnson. They're already pristine and ready to be refilled. And you will get immediately PC 42 SE results. Sure, you're going to be mixing it a little bit with the OEM inks. Are you going to see the difference? Very unlikely, no. Okay. So if you're terrified and you want to not flush and you don't want to buy any for some reason, go ahead and just add ink into your newly modified on your own cartridge. And because PC inks are a heck of a lot cheaper money wise than OEM, perform that drip test again and see if you get that drip. If you put the plug back on it and the dripping stops, you're good. You got a good sealing plug. You're good to go. Put the clip back on it, remove this plug again, and this time top it off so that it's just under the plug. You're going to see the plug right through the translucent background. You can barely see it right there. Okay. You're going to see it. So just fill it up to like a 1/4 inch from the top, from the very top. You don't want to get ink into that so-called venting chamber, or the so-called they call it vent. A I forget the term. Anyway, so just do that, and you're good to go. And get these clips from Rick Johnson, and then attach them to your printer. I mean, to your print cartridge, and you're good to go. If you have two sets that you've already gone through, so much the better. Okay. Now let's talk about yellow. Yellow is no longer necessary that you flush it. Sure, if you're really worried, go ahead and flush it. If you're using someone else's inks, you better flush that sucker yourself. Okay. And it's very difficult to flush it. You have to use um, Rick actually adds more ammonia to his Windex formulation. Okay. Just to make sure that you end up with a pristine yellow sponge. Okay. The issue is the gelling that occurs. They solved that at Precision Colors, and their yellow ink no longer reacts with the original yellow ink that Canon introduced for the first time ever. Previous dye printers that used yellow ink, as they all tend to do, did not react. It was Pro 100 inks that reacted, just the yellow. Okay. So do whatever you wish, whichever way you want to roll. um, I would just go ahead and flush everything anyway. I don't mind the process. Yeah, it's messy. Yeah. And it takes about 3 days for everything to be brought to the correct uh, dry condition. In other words, the correct weight. Um, Let me see what Pete is saying here. Could you do me a favor? Could you test the color photos using saturation for color rendering? Saturation, it should be much different than the other. Sure, saturation is a weird um, rendering intent. I would have to prep some more paper because I don't have enough already set for that. And I'm not gonna do like all every right now. I'm doing one, two, three, four different tests requiring one sheet of paper each. Okay, so I am not gonna do four more just for saturation. I don't want to use my paper just for that. My paper is precious. Okay, so I'm just gonna do one of them. We'll use um, what rendering intent do you want me to use on it? Just tell me, and that's what I will use. Okay, easy there. So let me go ahead. I'm going to cut one of these in half, so I will have the proper. And by the way, you saw me struggling trying to adjust my temperature on my heat press last week. Well, yeah, I just forgot how to do it. That's all. I've done it. It's set at 400. I have a couple more pieces of Chromolux aluminum, and we're going to go ahead and do that. I have two images from Richard Bender that we're going to go ahead and print on Chromolux. Yes, Richard. I found it. I actually did not pay for it. They sent it to me from the company. So let me go ahead and trim this. I have stuff everywhere here. What did I trim these at? I think it was. Nine and a half. We'll put these on here. All right. So, and I have to warn you, Peter or Pete, that you may not be able to see any subtle differences here. This is not the correct environment to be analyzing very minute differences in output. It may not show anything. It'll show it to me, but it may not show it on camera. Okay, so we'll just do the comparison between saturation with normal, relative colorimetric, and or do you want to? Yeah, saturation with relative, and then we'll see the rest. The rest are going to be all over the place. Okay, so okie doke. Now, for those of you who want to know, this is it. So you buy some Windex. If you live in the U.S., I don't think it's available in the U.K. Windex. Looks like this. Don't get their, the shopping grocery stores brand. It may not have ammonia. So this is original with ammonia D. So, and I think it's only like 5%. So he's going to take, according to this formula, 50% Windex, go to Walmart, buy some ammonia. Okay, you can probably get it in a regular grocery store as well, possibly. And then he is adding isopropyl alcohol. So what percent of isopropyl are you using? Hmm? Because I can get 99% if I order it. Actually, I think even my local drugstore has 99% or 70%. So what are you using? 70 or 91? You say either one is fine. Okay. So whatever. You can buy 70 at any drugstore. And then use that to flush the cartridges. And that's working pretty good, as I can see clearly from your results. I originally, when I tried to do my very first Pro 100 yellow cartridge, and I flushed it with just water, and the sponge never became white. It was constantly stained yellow. It's not that it was full of ink, it's just stained. Why did they do this to the yellow ink? Because the yellow ink is the one that fades first. Watch the video that I did last night. We'll talk about that. Okay, that is the reason. So they completely redesigned their yellow ink. It is the most long lasting OEM wise, the long lasting yellow ink you will ever come across as far as dye inks go. Okay, so you're drying for a long time. You know what I did for one that I had to quickly do? I just hung it over my heater vent. Okay, this was in the winter, and within a day or two, it was completely dry to like 14, little less than 14 grams. So that is the proper weight as far as I know. And then, if I let it sit without a plug or without a clip on it, um, ambient temperature, it'll adjust the internal moisture level to whatever your ambient humidity is, which right now is like 40% in the house with my new HVAC system. It's working pretty well. Okay, let's go ahead and yes, let's do this one here. So there is a tape I need to remove down here. All it says is remove clear plugs before use. Okay, so what does that mean? With refillable cartridges, especially Epson type. Now let's take a look at something else I may have here. So I happen to have, oh, guess what? It looks almost identical, doesn't it? This is a R3000 cartridge. And yeah, there is a filling plug right here and a vent plug. So you have to remove the vent plug. And that is the case with all refillable Epson type cartridges for the older printers. This one doesn't even have any plugs on it. But this one here, this hole here is the vent plug. So you're going to plug it, you're going to fill, you're going to prime, and then before you use, you remove this plug. Of course, the fill plug has to be installed as well. So you remove the fill plug, the vent plug, put it in your printer. Otherwise, it just will not flow ink. It'll just lock up. So let's go ahead and begin with this. I'm just going to go ahead and pull the plug. Let me get my bottle set up here. I'm just going to use a needle. They give you a bunch of syringes, but really the best way is to just use a needle. Attach it securely. Make sure that it is secure. You don't want ink or, in this case, this liquid all over you. I'm going to go ahead and insert it, flip, and just slowly add the fluid. Keep an eye on it. And it's just a matter of patience. You just keep adding. You could, of course, fill a syringe with a needle to whatever you think the amount is. But I just rather do it this way. And these tips on these bottles for the PSO flush, they seem to seal the needle pretty well, so no issues with anything leaking. Now notice that everything is filling up, but except for that compartment there. Okay, so we're just going to stop right now. That's it for this moment. Now I'm going to use the brand new syringe, not this one right here, the one that operates super smooth. Let me wipe off. I have some wet tissue paper here that I was using earlier. I'm going to insert a collapsed needle on here. Make sure when you do this, you also have the vent plug installed. What we're going to do is we're going to suck back. And look at that. It's sucking some of the liquid. And now we're going to let go. And guess what happened? See that? And by what I saw on your previous one, you did this already. So you did it correctly. And that's it. Once you do that and you get that vent filled with ink or partially filled with ink, it doesn't have to be fully filled. I can then come back very carefully so as not to make a mess and add more ink, or in this case, PSF line. This is enough. This is enough for what we want to use it for. So again, you just do this, repeat it. In this case, I think it's what? Not 10 times, it's nine cartridges. Now I'm going to just attach the fill plug and we are good to go. This is now filled. It is primed and ready to flow this magic liquid through your print head. So that's it. Seven to go. So we'll do that later on. I'm going to put you through this. I'm going to do that on my own later, and then I will let Harold Goldberg is his real name, Captain Donzi. He's going to come back up to deliver that printer. I'll have this ready for him, and that way he should be able to start on attempting to revive that P600. If I had a second set of refillable cartridges, I may have the patience to do that to my R2880, but no, I just removed it. It's sitting over there with the rest of the piles of printers to go to the dump. So in its place, we have the Pro 200. And now my little fragile table here now, that's free of anything heavy and scary. I didn't want to really put that on there permanently. Yep. All right. So as far as your stuff goes, Rick, I'm slowly going through other boxes and finding more things, and I keep adding them to the bags. And so that's I'm gonna just keep looking. I don't want to make sure that I send you this box and then I find more stuff. I want to make sure that I got as much things that you can possibly utilize when I make that shipment to you. Yeah, that's probably the case. But what is in this PSO flush? Let me just say, I once was contacted by an individual, and they came across as, hey, I'm going to send you a kit that you will be able to use on your Epson printers. Basically, I figured out the formulation of PSO flush, and I'm thinking, oh boy, Okay. And he sent me a sort of some kind of cleaning kit that he composed of existing like laboratory parts, um, plastic lab gear. And I never really tried it. Okay. And I don't even know where it is. I need to find it. So, but yeah. And simply what it was, for you to flush cartridges and also get your printer flowing properly. Um, okay. So you got plenty. Um, but anyway, I will keep looking and I haven't forgotten you. It is too pricey. It is very pricey. It is something like 20. I think I don't know what it is now, but it was like $27 for that bottle. Imagine that. So, I mean, it's imagine a Pro 800 that you're running in Europe with refillable cartridges, and you want to be able to put it away. So, what I would do in that case is just half fill my refillable cartridges. I would need a new set. It's very difficult to flush those out, the ones that already have ink in them, completely. It's difficult. Um, I managed to do it here, but yeah. Anyway, and just half fill them. Just make sure they're primed. Nozzle nozzle checks after cleaning cycles. Printing pink, yeah, put it away. That's all you need to do. And then when you come back, remove it, put the ink back in, not clean cycles, nozzle checks, and repeat. And once you get ink showing off on your nozzle checks, you're good to go again. All right. Let me go ahead and I am going to do one more harvesting of ink, and this will be, and then we'll do the printing on the Pro 200, comparing the rendering intents, and then the last thing we'll do is the Chromolux. I got 5x7 right here. Oh, my heat press is at 400, so I have 5x7. I don't know whether this is the matte or semi gloss one. I think it might be matte. Let me take a peek. Gosh, it's hot. Woo. Should be easier to remove. Well, you saw the prices last week. Oh my gosh, it is unbelievable. Yeah, this is matte. It just has a bit of a sheen to it, but nothing like the glossy. This should be good. This should be good on those two images. So let me put this like out of the way, but here, and then we're going to go ahead and make sure this time we do the heat uh, heating the base, and then I'm going to print both images at once, and I'll run one at a time just to see, make sure that it works. All right. I just increased it to the 400, and then I think the timer is at 85, maybe. I don't remember what I set it for, but it's just like 5 seconds more, and that's it. All right. So I don't know whether you can see. Yeah, you cannot see. Right here, I have a bunch of bottles. So I've been removing, even though it says Precision Colors, PC, K3, yellow. This is actually OEM ink. I just have the bottles that were ready, and they just had a little bit of the original ink, and it doesn't matter. You mix it a little bit. Trust me. Their inks they're almost as good as OEM. Literally. Okay. So no big deal. Okay, so here's a cartridge, and I was shocked. A full cartridge, and there's some cheating going, not cheating, but yeah, it's kind of a cheat, but we needed to cheat. Epson was doing. there are bags inside here. There's a one-way valve. Ink can only leave; it cannot be injected in unless you do an internal operation, which is completely blind, and you could screw up and you end up with a hemorrhage inside your printer. So it's not something I recommend doing any longer. I used to do it, but then I had an issue. Okay, I had a big issue, so I quit doing that. Okay, here's some more stuff from Rick. I weigh each cartridge day and only consider it dry when the weight doesn't go down 3 days in a row. So that is around that weight right here. So this is what I was getting by putting it on my heat vent. It acted a little faster. Now, I remember a group that had 100 Pro 100s, 100 of them, and they were producing, they were cranking out um, like art basically made from like original blueprints from patented products from the turn of the century, So they were printing like 13 by 19s of this constantly, and they had people just doing refilling, doing flushings, and everything. And so what they put them in a toaster oven, a big toaster oven at 100 degrees. And within a few hours, they were all down to the 13.5-ish weight. I don't want to do that, but they did that and they were successful at it. Yeah, I cannot say otherwise. They switched over to a different maker printer and they gave up on the Pro 100. It was too much side work. So now they're doing I don't know what they're doing lately. This was years ago. So anyway, I was just shocked. Okay, so a brand new one will weigh in at like 150 grams, if I remember correctly. Do I have a brand new one? Let me go get a new one. Hang on. All right. I have a bunch of these. Brand spanking new, expired for the either the 85, no, the 3800 or the 3880. So, and these I got on eBay for like 15 bucks each back in the day. They were all expired and nobody wanted them. So they're fine. They work fine. Okay. Let's weigh this thing. Okay, this is 144.9. So 145. This comes with 80 usable ml of ink. Okay. But when it's declared empty, you take it out and you toss it, you're throwing away 10 ml of ink. So the maximum the minimum amount of ink that they claim should remain in the bag to make sure, because chips are not perfect. So when it gets declared empty, it could be 5 ml left. It could be 12 ml left. It could be 10, as they hope. So they give you this extra 10 that supposedly they're not charging you for. Of course they are. It's part of the price. So that means that each ml is a little bit cheaper. Okay, per ml. You got 90. You're empty. If the chip is correct, you got 10 left. Well, I can suck out that 10 ml. That is, gosh, one of these syringes full of ink at about 75 cents per ml. Whoa. Okay. So you're tossing this away. So what I recommend, if you are using a P800, Look for P800, you know, um, expired ones on eBay, or ask on the web, join a forum. Hey, any of you guys have any P800 empty cartridges, especially in the US, because those are going to be thrown out. They'll have ink left in them. I hope that the P800 still behaves like the 3880, 3800 did. Yeah, so if you remove 90 from 145, anybody do that for me real quick? So 145 minus 90. Empty would be 55 grams. Okay. So let's weigh in. Let's weigh the one that I am going to extract ink from, and it weighs 122. Spot on, 122. So 122 minus 55. I have 67 grams of ink in here, or ml. I got this for free from someone. Okay. They sent me cartridges in a box. Yeah. And at the time, when my 3880 and 3800 were working, I could use them. I have so much of this. I don't ever have to buy ink for my P800 ever again. Okay. My P800 will be dead before I run out of ink. That's my theory and my prediction, I think. All right. Oh, okay. Here we go. This is TPD. Caught this live stream late. Forgot it was today. Ron K here. Trenton, New Jersey. 8550. Kimmich Ultimate Lifetime. R5 Mark II. And a Canon 7D. Welcome. I'm glad you came. Um, yeah. Thank you. That's what I needed. So was it 45 or 55? What did Yeah, everyone here? Okay. So whatever. There's going to be a lot of ink coming out of this. So I sent the current officially listed ingredients of Pearson Flush to your email. Ooh, if we can come within 99% efficiency, I couldn't bother bring it. I wouldn't bother bringing it into the lab. Rick Johnson formulation is fine. Oh, okay. Hmm. What do they use as a dye for the pink look? All right, let's begin. So I am going to use the larger syringe, this good one, yeah. But I'm going to quickly rinse this leftover bit of PSO flush out of it. Now let me show you the tips. And I still have some of these available, but you have to do a little trick. Can you see against my hat or maybe against my dark shirt? You see that little slot? That normally is not on that tip. I cut that with my saw, my little blade jeweler's saw that I use for my miniatures. And the reason for that is there's a poppet valve in here that's got a roundish kind of tip to it. A regular syringe, you can actually use this. It'll just seal against it and you cannot suck because the poppet valve is spring loaded. It will seal itself against that opening. So you need something with a little side slot cut. That way yeah, the rest of the tip will seal against the poppet valve, but I can still draw ink out. Okay. So that is the reason for that little slot. I'm going to put it on my larger capacity. There you go, like that. And it's simply insert and suck. And it's going to vent. And you can see I cannot inject. I can only pull out. So I'm going to remove 30 very carefully. Oh, of course, you're going to make a little bit of a mess. Where's my little wet tissue? Like so. Okay, so we'll put this aside for now and just simply add it to your bottle. And when I run out or I'm getting low on my yellow, I'm running a chipless P800. I check every once in a while to see where my levels are. I'm running refillable cartridges so they are visible. I can see the levels visibly. And that's it. I can probably add another 10 ml. But you see how easy this is? So this is still pretty heavy. Yeah, it's at 90 grams right now. So I'm just going to draw 10. And see if I can squeeze that in. Yep, that's pretty much it. That's about as much as I'm going to get in there. But anyway, so this is how you do it. And you'll be able to then harvest the best inks available for your particular Epson printer from these very low price cartridges just because they're considered expired. And yeah, that means nothing. Okay. It's still fine. It's not like food. Okay. There's nothing really, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's nothing really organic in these cartridges. Or is there? If there is, that's new to me. Now, for Canon, I buy these. Now, this is dye ink, and this will this work on a say Canon 9000? Probably yes. So that's about 100 and does it say how much? Yeah, 90 ml, and I think it was like $7. Imagine that. So 90, 110 ml of a third party will run you about $15. So I think that's a deal. So, but you got to be careful, okay? Because, like I said, cyan ink is not the same cyan ink for other printers. It might differ in the actual color. So, again, a simple profile. Print Prism, man, knock it out. You got a profile, it will adjust slight differences between this cyan and the proper cyan. But again, this is not something I universally recommend. This is back when I was getting into this field and I was testing everything under the sun. And it was working for me. It was working for me at the time. So, all right, let me see what else. Harold Davies says Piezo Flush MSDS. Okay, that's yeah. Just list as a reactive organic pink dye. No further detail. Yeah. Okay. Strawberry juice. Yes, sure. Well, that would be low tech. However, why not? Maybe we should open the chemical company I always wanted. Hey, sure. Mass produce it, sell it for what would be a lot less than other people are offering. That's the way business runs. I'll price the other guy. Now, unless you have multiple syringes and you got to constantly rinse your one single one, make sure you remove this completely. There are some little grooves here that can trap some ink. Just because you flushed, pull fresh water out and out several times, does not mean that the plunger itself is clean. Okay, so just be aware of that. So I'm going to put this back. This is going to go to the back room again. I wish I could get my 3880 working again, just a blacking switch valve. That's what is bad with it. This is going to go back in my box. I have several boxes full of cartridges. Let's do a, oh my gosh, this is almost full. See what I mean? I was just given free ink here. This is 115. Wow. Let me do a less full one. Let me see. Okay, here's one that's a lot lighter. Yeah, 81. So let's go ahead and do magenta. Now you got to be super careful. See what it says? This VLM, Vivid Light Magenta. The 3800 was regular magenta. The 3880, the 2880 began using vivid magenta and vivid light magenta. It was just a stronger magenta. That's all. They felt that they needed to do that. So if this had been a magenta, then really there's no way I could use it. I don't have any printers that use regular magenta. So let's go ahead and retract. And I think I should be able to just suck out pretty much all the ink out of this baby. Yeah, you can see that it's giving me a bit of a fight here. So that's it. That bag inside is collapsed. And let's see how much the empty weight is. 60.6. All right, so now I know what the empty weight is, the correct empty weight. Okay, let's go ahead and lay this down a second. This is my Vivid Light Magenta. As you can see, I got big old long needles. I can insert that into my refillables and quickly top everything off as I need to. And that's it. So you do this for a couple of hours every, I don't know how long, how often, but this will give you the luxury of being able to print with OEM. And that's all that matters. Printing with OEM and allowing you to do it for pennies, basically, as opposed to what it really costs. One of these cartridges would be about $60, 59. All right. We will leave the rest for later. But you can see. And let me just show you what I got here. Okay. And I got several of these boxes like that. And of course, I have brand new cartridges that are just completely full and I cannot use them. Anyone have a 3800 that works? Let me know. I'll see what my inventory is. I can give you an absolutely great price per cartridge, better than you will ever find anywhere. You just pay for the shipping and I will send that to you in the US, of course. 3880, okay? All righty. Let's begin to do that test. Let me open up QImage. I gotta do the share screen bit and share screen and this one and that one and kaboom. All right. So let me go ahead and look here in this folder. I should have a collage that I saved for image test for rendering intents and black point compensation. Okay. Job. And magically, look at that. It just pulls out the whole shebang. So I have this original modified uh, standard image that Mike Cheney added this to because he used to have this useless image that really would not help at all. A full monochrome image that is used for analysis. This one we can actually look at many things. I have this other collage here, and then I have, but you wanted to see something with bright colors. Is that what it is? And then use saturation as well. So I may go ahead and remove this. We'll just click on that one and remove it. And then we'll look. Let me look at, well, what the hell? We'll just do this one. This is one of Richard Bender's, either this one or this one. We'll do this one. All right, that's got plenty of color. You check my printer. So when I save this, it should have saved all the settings that I required. So the Pro 100, Pro 200 came up. Photo Paper Pro Premium. This is basically platinum. This is what I used to create the profile on the Pro 200 with. So that is Canon's glossiest paper. And I am using A-Sub Glossy, which is, again, one of the other super glossy papers. And so it should be a good match. User defined basically is because it's 9.5 by 13. And then here is the profile. We'll leave that alone. And then we're just going to go into properties. Make sure that everything is hunky-dory. I'm not using any weird settings here. Everything seems okay. And we'll go ahead and we'll do the first one will be Pro 200 relative colorimetric with black point comp. So I am going to actually, once it emerges, I will add that information down here, one of the edges. Okay, so we're able to identify later on. So this is going to take a while. I could have done this pre-show, but I wanted to do it in front of you guys. And then we'll do one comparing it against this one, but we'll change the rendering intent to saturation. If anyone out there is into commercial printing for like ads, that sort of thing, anything that requires a specific yellow color, like the yellow for Kodak, to be absolutely perfectly rendered on whatever the media is that you're printing on. Did you use saturation? I don't remember what that was used for. I suppose I could ask AI to give me the answer. You know, they know everything, but I'll ask you guys first. Okay, so now that's going to be the first one. Let me make sure that my settings were correct. That's not it. This is my let me go ahead and act like I'm going to send another one. Oh, it's doing a little pre-print checkup over there because it's been a whole week since I did the last nozzle check. Did it begin to print? I believe so. Wait a minute. Okay, here it is. Yes, it began to print. As you can see, all my chips are disabled. Top feed, portrait, yep. So we'll see. We'll see what that looks like. It should be pretty much normal. This is when you can recall previous settings, and I love that we have that option. This is where you can actually save a set of settings right here, as I have done here. Maybe many of them have been saved. This is your profiling, and this is what we used. We use relative colorimetric, black point comp, and that profile. So the next one is going to be perceptual, but with black point compensation. So I'm going to save that setting. Okay, so this one's going to be with black point comp on and relative colorimetric. Okay. Okay, maybe that's more correct than my assessment. So we'll see what happens. This is pretty colorful. So I mean, you can see that's going to be very punchy, and we'll see what the standard image does under saturation mode. Plus, don't forget that Print Prism now has this weird adjustment for like the lower, what would you call that? On your black to white, your lower set of tones. And it also has the so-called gamut expansion, and you only use that using relative. I mean, not relative, but perceptual. I did it. I didn't like it. I did one using a profile done with the wide gamut, and then using perceptual, as opposed to one done with just the normal settings, the default settings that QMIT utilizes. And of course, that was to me a better print. The other one is like I lost some of the color saturation, and sure, it may have included more shadow, whatever, but the original one that I did had been made with like zero point 0.5 value above black, 0.5 value between below white, and I managed to get that. So why would I want to further? You see what I mean? So I don't know. It's up to you. You know, I guess it's up to you, and you're the creator. So right, I think that's what it is. We'll see. We'll see, and we'll see which one we prefer. So okay. Okay, doke. So where is my? Oh man, don't tell me I took that upstairs. I have my little purple marker. It's the one I always use. Shoot. I think I took it upstairs. Shucks. Let me see if I have any other pen or pencil here. Nah. Okay, so let me look at this. Do I have a pen back here? Let me see. Nope. Shucks. Well, darn. Anyway, we'll quick look at this, and then I'll go get a. I gotta go get a marker. Okay. There's too much to see here. I'm looking at the. I have. Oh wow! I can see 254 here, and I'm gonna have to backlight this. I can barely see number 5 in the black to white. So we'll see what happens when we do this same thing with black point compensation off. So I got to mark this, otherwise I'm going to lose track. So let me go ahead and set this up. I have to do the relative colorimetric, but black point comp on or off right there. Okay. So let me go back to the full view. So we are now relative colorimetric, not perceptual, relative black point compensation on. The previous one was relative black point compensation off, and the previous one was with black point compensation on. Boom. All right, let me go get a pen, a marker. I'll be right back. Let that begin printing. I need a marker. All right. It has begun to print. So this is A sub Pro 200, A sub gloss, and relative rela in black point comp on. Okay. So now we'll be able to tell the difference. I'm going to be looking at those tones, those black shadowy areas, and see how they are represented with black point on. I have never really made it a point to use black point compensation off, but Okay, there's some commentary going on here. Let me go ahead and so Pete Harold says to Pete, are you using saturation as a rendering intent for something specific? It's not something I've needed, but perhaps I'm missing out on something. Harold says. Harold Davies, I like experimenting. I print bold, vivid photos with metallic and try saturation. Love it. Okay, so that's again. Um, of course, however, one other drawback, not for me, makes photos more unrealistic. I print posters and I love bold, vivid colors. My room is bright green and with blue, with and blue. Okay, are these photos extremely saturated, or what happens with normal objects? Harold Davies asks. Got it. So realism isn't as important for your application as these in those cases. No, I prefer bold, brilliant colors. Realistic, not my most important feature. Correct. Okay, so that's it. And again, like I said, I don't agree with that per se. I'm a realist. I want it to look real, not unless I something I created myself. Then fine, as saturated and bold as I wish to have it. That's not really an issue with me. So, but for normal photographs, yeah, I don't want over enhancement. That's why I made a profile for doing the metal um, prints because without it, it will oversaturate everything. So here is the finished product, as you saw last week. And I added the corners because we are Latino. We like fancy, okay? We like frilly. My wife hates those corners. But as you can see, gorgeous. And it looks natural. That looks like the original photo. Had I not used a profile that I painstakingly created using the same process, using metal, I would have never have gotten. And it's amazing that it worked for Chromolux. Oh, and by the way, I discovered something that I never even noticed before. In the back, where did I see that? Yeah, you cannot see this. Oh, here we go. Right here, see where my finger is? It says Chromolux. It's almost like it's etched onto the coating. The back is also coated, by the way. All right, so this is the next one. This is relative, but with black point compensation turned off. So let me write that down. Rela B P C off. Let me see if I can see. It's absolutely terrible. Yeah, no. With black point compensation on, I could see steps all the way to 4. Here is the opposite. It's like it's blocked. Okay. It's all become one dark gray. Now let's look at the actual black and white photo, the one that I shot, and see if we can see any difference in rendering. So off is on top, on is on the bottom. Let's just look at these two images here. Yeah, everything in the shot. See the background is more open, sure. Is that what you want? Well, the top one is pretty open as well, but not as much. Let me use this light. Here we go. Yeah, you can see the woods back here is more open. Here is visible, but from what you can see, it's a little bit darker, probably more correct. It's like I took a bunch of the dark tones and just moved them. It didn't open them up. It just slid them to the right. Let's look at the, and I know when I see it on my screen, it looks a little bit warm. It's not warm. It's pretty neutral to me here. So let me look at the black and white test print or test image right here. Again, you would have to sit and scrutinize this. So I think what I'm going to do now is we're going to go ahead and do the perceptual and see what happens. Perceptual black point compensation on. Like I promised you, it's not going to really make much difference here with my $80 camera. No. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Yeah. Ah, very interesting. Yes. All right. Let me go ahead and do the rest here. So we're going to change this to relative black point compensation on. No, wait a minute. Perceptual and black point comp on. That's it. That's the only difference that's going to take place here. And we'll compare that with the relative with black. Oh, you didn't see that. Sorry. You did not see that. Sorry about that. So perceptual, black point compensation on. We'll go ahead and print that. We'll compare it to perceptual with, Jesus, with relative black point compensation on. And then we'll do the final one. It'll just be saturation, black point compensation on. Okay. And we'll be looking at this particular image right here. It should show up here as well, but we'll see. My allergies are killing me. And I haven't even been outside. The house is beautifully filtered now, so I know that's not it. It's just me and my wife as well. We go outside. We go shopping to a store, and our eyes start to water. It's almost loaded. Okay, so now we will do the black point. Should we do a black point compensation off using perceptual? Do you think that's going to be necessary? Since you seem to be more interested in saturation, I would like to use that paper for something else. If you don't mind, let me know. I see. Yeah. Mm. Okay. So this one coming up, I'm just going to go ahead and jump and do the saturation one. And then we have another image that I'm going to just print straight up using saturation just to see what happens. Because then we're also going to use it for doing an aluminum print on Chromolux. Now, have anybody ever tried absolute colorimetric? Profiling under control lighting. So this is going to be, just to reiterate, saturation, black point comp on. I think that's going to not only increase any possible contrast, okay, possibly to what you have your monitor set at, but it's also going to increase saturation. In other words, it's not going to care about accuracy. So this is going to be the last one then. Then I'm going to go ahead, because it's really getting hot in here with this thing at 400 degrees next to me. I'm going to go ahead and prep to print for 2 5x7 on matte Chromalox aluminum. Actually, it looks like a mild semi-gloss, but it's extremely smooth coating on it. I mean, it's amazing. Okay. One of these days, I'm just going to go ahead and do it just to see what we get. Okay, so let me go ahead and prep for the next job. As you can see, all I'm doing is choosing it, telling it it's a job. But here, I realized when I did this, I had it set for a 13 by, what is it, 8.5, and this will fit on a 8.5 by 11. So I'm going to go ahead and change that. User define, and then we'll change it back to letter size, and it resets everything to the correct size. And so I'm just going to go ahead and print that. By the way, it automatically loads the profile that I made. Presentation paper matte, letter size, everything is set. Let's go ahead and print it. In fact, it will reverse it as well. In other words, mirror it. So okay, so this is the one, perceptual, with black point comp on. Wait a minute. Yeah, perceptual black point comp off, I mean. And I want to compare it with relative. Oh, yeah. You can see my shot of the wedding right here. This is off. This is on. No, this is off. What am I doing? Idiot. This is on. On. Black point compensation on. So the top one is perceptual with it off. And you can see the difference. And again, it looks a little bit warm, but it's not. So this has a higher contrast, if you will. This is as if I had reduced contrast. And let's look at the standard image. Yeah, it even looks warm for some reason. Let's look at the color image. Oh, yeah. Look at that. It loses its saturation a little bit. This is on, this is off. Perceptual, relative. Yeah. The red flowers look almost orangey. Yeah. So now comes the most important one. This is the saturation. I want to see how much is going to blow out any of the colors that are on the standard image. So we'll compare this. Let's just say relative black point comp on, and this is saturation black point comp on. So relative black point. This is saturation. This is regular. I don't see much of a difference. Let's look at the black and white. I didn't mark it, but you can. This is saturation. Saturation, regular, relative. I'm looking at my strawberries. My strawberries on the relative colorimetric black point comp on look good. Here they look just as good. I don't see any difference in the graduations here, the transitions. Really not much difference. Let me see if my black and white, my black to white, I can see number 6. And here I can see on relative, I cannot see anything until about 20. Yeah. So that does it for me for relative. No way I'm going to use it. Now, saturation, interesting. Yeah. For colorful type imagery, sure. If you want to, for example, this is an AI created, not AI, I think he just did something. He's got some way to create painterly looking images. This is his magic. I'm not going to ask him how he does it, but something that has what some would consider unnatural colors as far as saturation goes, sure, print it with saturation if that is what you wish to do and get nice, vivid results. Other than that, I'll just stick with my normal procedure. Again, no offense whatsoever. That's just me. Now, here are our 2 images. We're going to go ahead and trim them off so that we have one each. It's a matter of taste, I always say. No one is ever correct. Okay. What is correct is what you prefer. That is what's correct. So, Pete, you are correct in what you prefer, period. And you've experimented enough to know what your preference of output is. Harold or I or whoever cannot say, oh, Peter, you're wrong. Of course not. You are correct. This is what you want, and you know how to achieve it. So what I want is a more natural looking, what I see on my monitor is what I get. I don't want to, like, if I want to enhance something, I'll just do it manually and then it will be printed that way. I don't try to, use a method that will enhance it for me so that now when it is printed, it doesn't look like my monitor anymore. So I'm a little bit different than you. Fine. No, nothing wrong. Nothing wrong with that. So don't take anything we have shared here as a negative. No, we agree with you 100%. Oh, look who's here. Hello, Mr. Emmanuel. Tarium Emmanuel. French, my French is terrible. From France. Glad to have you. You're a little bit late. Did you just come on? We're about, oh gosh, we have like 10 more minutes. We're going to stay a little longer because we're going to go ahead and print some sublimation. And this is what we're going to be printing. Okay. This should really, this is going to really be enhanced. These colors are going to be fantastic. And I think Peter would really appreciate this. Pete, I keep saying Peter. Pete, my first love is 4x5 color reversal now, but nowadays more digital color cost reasons. Yeah. Love great monochromes though. For instance, Weston, who was mentioned last week, of course, to another master besides, my hero, Ansel Adams. Thank you, Jose. Unlike most YouTubers, you experiment and compare with control images. The clear differences are better ideas. It's my scientific background controls. I was telling my son yesterday, actually 2 days ago, he came over complaining about that he keeps hearing this noise. He said his brakes. He took it to my gas station, which I have complete confidence in. And they told him, no, your brakes are fine. We found something a little bit bent and we springed it back to shape, but your brakes are fine. You don't need any brakes yet. So he drove, and then comes back the other day. I'm coming over, Dad. I said, okay, what's up? He said, I got that noise again. And so we went on a drive, and I did a drive that was like um, a scientific experiment, like an assay. Let's check this as a baseline. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. And he got it. And of course, it wasn't his brakes. So he never took it to the garage that I deal with. So he went home, and so far, no more complaints. So who knows? Who knows what it could be? It could be anything. It could be something significant, like a piece of something caught in one of the drums, not drums, but the discs and the calipers, possibly, if it is indeed the brakes. But we didn't hear any rhythmic noise. We didn't hear anything when he applied the brakes. I actually took temperatures of the rotors when we got done. They were at normal temperature. And so it wasn't anything that you can then pinpoint as being the brakes. What it is, we don't know yet. Okay, so that's still under the so-called experimentation. But yeah, you need to use controls. Absolutely. I watch for you guys information, and if you guys ever get a chance to watch it, please do so from the very beginning. It is it's kind of a cringe fest, but it's really cool. The the secret of the secret of Skinwalker Ranch in Utah, and there's this guy, a multimillionaire that owns the biggest real estate company in Utah, and he was interested in what some previous researcher was doing. It's all about UFOs and things like that. Watch it, and then you will cringe at the experiments that they run and the lack of controls. If I if I print something on my Pro 200 and then I print something on my Pro 100 right next to it, and it comes out like totally different. Something is wrong with my whole printing. No, no, it's not. Your Pro 200 produced a correct result. So whose fault is it? Of course, it's there. I did immunohistochemistry for slides from sections of biopsies from people who could not get the proper diagnosis from their hospital or their whatever medical group they were being treated with. And so he came to the Armed Forces Institute of Pathology, the world's compilation of experts for every body part. We had a full department, eight floors. We had a full department for every single body part. You had hepatic, you had bone, you had pulmonary, you had, you know, you name it, um, endocrine, you have for glands. And so, depending on the tissue that was coming in, we would then process it, embed it, cut it on a microtome. I would prep the slides. We would get these strange cases. Okay. So then we had what is called monoclonal antibodies that were specific for certain markers, molecular speaking, certain markers in what we think may exist in this tissue. Well, if I get a positive, how do I know that's a positive? Right? If I get a negative, I just say, oh, it's negative. If I get no staining, we're looking for little brown areas. So it's a process using a monoclonal antibody, a secondary antibody, you name it, all kinds of a developing agent. Oh my God. And so what we had to do was run a negative slide of tissue that was absolutely clean of any sort of what we think we suspect would be in this particular tissue sample. And then one that we know. In fact, we would actually create tissue that will stain positive. Okay, so that would be your two extremes, negative, positive. In the middle is your unknown sample. So I just didn't do staining on my unknown sample. I had to do all three. And then if I got nothing on my negative control and I got what I expected to see every single time on my positive control, then if I see something in my unknown sample, I can claim, hey, pathologists, I think I got a positive here. Here's the tray of slides. You guys look at it. Okay. And I will wash my hands. I had to prove that I ran the correct set of slides, one negative, one positive. Okay. That's how you do things. Okay. That's how you have to do things. And I applied that knowledge that I acquired after 20, gosh, what, 89 to 2012, that I started working with these folks. I retired from the Army. I got a job. I was so lucky that they hired me. I must have had certain skills that they wanted. So I was one of those multi-skill type individuals. Of course, I was not a PhD. Okay. I didn't have even a master's degree. So, but I knew how to do things. I had learned to do things. And so they loved me. So they kept me for, people came and went in and out. And I stayed for that long period of time until we closed the institute down, sadly. But yeah, and I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm just telling you that you do things properly, then you can claim what you get. You can claim as being truthful. It will hold up in a court of law. In other words, I did that with photography also. I had to go out with the police department in many of my bases that I was at and take forensic photography. And I needed to make sure that I didn't use a wide angle lens to make the distance where this guy almost hit this guy or whatever, make it look like it was 60 feet instead of 30 feet. No, 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 no. 50 millimeter lenses. That's the normal. Not a telephoto to compress everything, not a wide angle to expand everything. The normal lens. Okay, that's why they call it a normal lens. You can actually use one eye to focus and one eye to just look at the scene, and it matches in perspective. As you're looking through your viewfinder and you're also looking at the real deal, it matches. That's why a lot of people do that. Anyway, enough of that. So, approaching experiments such as this, you have to do it in a systematic way so that what you then claim, I do a video and I say, oh, I got this when I did this, when I did this with this setting, that setting. Big effing deal. Did you really use a baseline? Yeah. And in this case, the baseline is what QImage Ultimate sets its baseline. It's controls relative colorimetric black point compensation automatically set as a default. All right, enough of that. Henry Stoffel says, "Welcome to a cool." Oh, you just got on 70. Oh, I see you got your printer to work. What kind of driver were you using, my friend? Yeah, Mike told me, and I told him to smack you in the head for having done such a thing. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, I'm glad everything is working, and your P800 now can do a nozzle check with QImage. Excellent. Yeah, it's a matter of the driver. I thought it was because my QImage was using my P800's so-called chipless driver, and I thought maybe that's different. Maybe that allows it, but no, you were using a very generic driver. Okay, the scientific approach is why I stuck with this channel, but had no idea who you were. I dropped others from my YouTube feed. Well, now you know because you met me in person and we went out to eat together and go sightseeing and everything. So you know me inside and out. Um, and my wife too. She's a brainiac as well. Better than me, much better than me. She's the one I call Spock. Logical. Sometimes I'm not. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's working. So now we know the P900 should work as well, P700, and just about everything else. And somebody mentioned the 1100 was working from Canon. All right, so we are done. We just printed this. We're going to go ahead and create a couple of metal prints. So this is nice and bony dry. I got to make some room here. Move this inks out of the way a bit. Lay this down. Where did I put my metal? Oh, right here. And don't let me forget to preheat the base. All right, let's go ahead and remove the protective coating. Boy, I don't know what they use for this, but the adherence is incredible. The idea with this is that not only does it protect it, but it literally like forces anything on the surface to come off with it. And I'm looking at it and it is pristine. I hope the measurements were accurate. Yes, they are. These are actually in inches what they claim they are supposed to be. Whereas the other stuff that comes from overseas, you know where, they often are a little bit smaller than the claimed size in inches. So like an 8 by 12, it'll be accurate metric, but it'll be a certain measurement in centimeters, but not the 8 by 10 inches they claim. So you have to adjust the bleed on these. So right now I got a perfect bleed, just enough. In fact, I'm practically cropping the most minimum amount. You can see that. Let me go ahead and pre-warm this. Let's see how much it drops. So it's at 85 seconds. It's now 398. Try it. 97, 96. So once it gets up to back to 400, I'm going to just stop. 95, 94. I want to maintain a even temperature through the whole process, the whole transfer period. 95, 94, 95. Last week's was a total experiment, and thank goodness it worked. Um, 97, 400. Okay, that's enough. So I'm going to go ahead and load this. We'll let it do the 85 seconds. The problem is, gosh, after I discovered I had a few of these, oh, the difference is incredible. And so I have to sort of live with the slightly inferior, much thinner. Um, if you drop it, it's going to kink. It's going to be bent. Yeah, that's for sure. Well, he's half human, but he knows how to control it. I only use that analogy because she's the logical one. And she's usually right. To last in successful relationships with so many, yeah. 50, ooh. We got married in 71, so do the math. September 5th. Okay. 21 more seconds. 19, 18, 17, almost there. We'll see. So I didn't see it drop a single degree through the whole process. That's why it's so important to preheat that base. 2, 1, blast off. Now, due to the thickness of this material, I'm going to have to let it sit there for a bit longer than I normally did the thin stuff. It's taking into the coldness of my top here, but oh my God, that's hot. I can barely touch it. That is hot, folks. Mm. I had these little thingamajigs out the other day to doll up my friend's daughter's print. I think she will appreciate that. Ow. Okay, so you look at this and you're looking for blotches, like areas. Everything looks like it lost a certain percentage of the original image. These were very deep shadows, okay? Practically black as far as the actual images. I did not adjust those images. Those are straight from Richard. So that means that I got a good transfer, an even transfer. I shouldn't see any differences in density on the actual metallic print. And I was very concerned because these are not in a 5:7 ratio. So internally, this is what I did, folks. Let me show you real quick what I just did to make sure that these signatures, the digital signatures, showed up. So let's just take a look at this one here. I set it to crop 7.1, 5.1. I could just do 5:7, and I cropped it to make sure that, because if I didn't do that, that signature would have been over to the edge, because it did the auto um, cropping, if you will. So let me just go ahead and cancel that. The same thing with the other one as well. And now let's take a peek. And Pete, you would love this. You would love this, my friend. This is wow. Oh my God. Hang on. And look, there's no, yeah, little bit of gloss there, but that's just like semi, not quite pure matte, but good Lord. And again, this is terrible. This does not do it justice. Talk about, if you could do some of your images, Pete, in this type of process, you would be blown away. This on your wall, this emanates color. And again, it's not a realistic image, of course not. Did you do this via AI? Did you do this via a painting process of an actual image? I don't know what you did, Richard. Okay, and you don't have to tell me, but this is out of this world. It is. Let's do the next one. How does it compare to the? This is the one we did with the what you call it, saturation mode. I like this. Wow, holy cow! If I could only afford Chromolux. Well, I would if I was selling this, but I'm not, so I gotta stick with the other stuff. For instance, I can get for $25, I can get 10 sheets of 9x12, 8x12. It's just thinner. It still produces good results. Unfortunately, they don't have the variety that Chromolux offers. There we go. Let me make sure we can stay at 400 degrees. We're at 403 right now. So I'm going to let that sit there while I tape this down. Yeah, I'm just going to have to go back to the old, lower cost but thinner material. I just can't. What I have left is very minimal. I really appreciate Condi, the company, for providing me with these materials, again, for free. I'm looking to see if there's any identification on the back of these, but no, this doesn't have it. But I mean, you could actually print in the back of this simultaneously. If you can just sandwich it without moving it, top and bottom, you can make a truly metallic rendition of anything. All right, this is good. Because it would literally transfer itself onto the back. The other stuff that I buy from Amazon and eBay is not coated in the rear, only the front. So I cannot do that. So with Chromalox, I can actually print on the front, get a real photographic result, or print in the back and get a completely metallic look. It's really strange the way it looks. Really is. So let's let that finish cooking. Let me see what else we got here. Well, I wanted to finally show you the I just found these images on the Library of Congress, Civil War. And I'm just going to go ahead and choose a category. Okay, so this is view at City Point headquarters, hospital with something schoolhouses. Okay, let's click on that. It's going to do a check. And then here we are. So I can download this as a TIFF, a 17.4 megabyte image. And I can print it unaltered, or I can alter it. I can actually make it look a lot better, make it look like a real up-to-date photograph, remove the brown tonal coloration and such. And again, it's just fun to look through all this because they sure have so much stuff. Let's look at a view all. There it is. But duty calls, and I need to get this transferred over here. Okie doke. All right, so now I know that the correct settings for these is what AI told me. 400 degrees, 85 seconds. And it works. It's working fine. I'm going to let that cool for a while. Let's take a quick look at some of these. Here's some, gosh, who is this guy? Oh, this is interesting. Oh, wow. Looks like a Union soldier. See some kind of number 2080. So I can download that by just clicking there, download a JPEG or a TIFF. Oh, and I can just play with that. This is amazing. I'm going to have to delve into that a little bit more, but not right now. Let me go ahead and take a look at this. If it has cooled down enough, possibly. All right. Pete, you're still here, right? You haven't left? I need to ask you a couple questions. Let me know if you're still here. I'm going to turn this off. Now that I know how to do this, let me go ahead and change the temperature. Change the time and the temperature. Here we go, back to 350. Okay, done. 350, 85 degrees. So next week we'll do regular aluminum, and we'll compare to see if there are any drastic differences. Okay, let's take a look at this. So this is the transfer, and we're looking for any kind of anything that didn't transfer over. So what could happen is that you get a little piece of grit, anything between this and the hard surface of the aluminum, you will create a little void as it's being pressured against the aluminum. You can see the little indentation here, like a, it looks like a third, like a 3 dimension now, like it was literally stamped into the paper. You would see a little area with much less transfer, and so there would be a lot more ink here. But as you can see, it's very smooth, so, and even. So I suspect this is going to be another great one. Let's see what we got. The back of it is dirty because this didn't have a protective coating on it. Will you look at that? Oh my God. Here. There you go. You see how those greens just lit up? Richard, you're still here with us, bro? Take a look at this. And where's the other one? Right here. So what do you think of these renditions of your art? Whoop. Let me tilt it. There we go. What do you think of that? Not too shabby. Now, I remember back in the day, I was actually experimenting on glass. They had sublimatable glass. And what it had was, it was really strange because I forget, I don't know how this even worked. It had what do you call it? A white coating in the back, but the ink would sublimate right through it. And then when you view it from the front, from the uncoated front, it would be there. But yet the back would still be sort of opaque. So I don't know what kind of coating they use for that. But yeah, it worked. And I even tried creating my own sublimatable glass. So I went to the dollar store and bought a bunch of cheap little dollar 5x7 frames, and I tried doing that, and some of it did work. It's in here somewhere. I don't want to dig it out. I did 4x4 bathroom tiles that now serve as coasters. Let me see if I can get these. I do have some of these left, and I think I did a demo on one of the previous live streams how to do a mouse pad. So this is an actual mouse pad. It is coated with a layer of polyester cloth, and so that accepts the sublimation ink perfectly. So it's a white cloth, and somehow they bind it to this plastic, this rubber, I mean, and you get that. So this is, factory made. This is not something I made, but this is. It's a little damaged right now, but these are regular, like 50-cent tiles. I put 4 buttons on the back, and I had to spray the surface with something, I forget what it was, and then a layer of polyester resin clear spray, and then you have to put it in an oven to cure. And then this is a shot of a train at a train station, steam everywhere, and you can see the surface. It is a piece of ceramic. What else do I have here? Oh, some kind of supernatural babe, something my son would like. You can see the unevenness of the whole thing because you can imagine how much heat this would absorb initially. So it's kind of it's not like the aluminum. Immediately the heat transfers through it. That's how aluminum is. But this is not the same thing. This is almost a quarter-inch thick piece of ceramic. So finding the correct combo is not so easy. You go through a lot of material. Okay, this is a much nicer finish I got. Look at that. And again, it's just a ceramic. Oh, how adorable. You can look at the black is matte. Yeah, that black eyeballs on that. I think it's a Chihuahua. But again, nice surface coating. So it sometimes will take two coats. I use an airbrush to apply the resin. It was a two-part resin. You have to mix it together and then load it into some sort of a airbrush uh, equipment and then spray it uh, very carefully. And then make sure there's no dust around because it would land and you would have to take the tiniest tweezers and pull a little piece of lint or something that falls on it because you don't want that to be there and you want it to be um, completely smooth. So there was a trick. So you would take it was almost like photo flow. Remember photo flow? So it's water with a surface tension breaking agent, not soap. It was something else, maybe alcohol. I think it was alcohol. And you just spray with the airbrush and let it sit. That would just make that surface, the glass, smooth. Make sure there's no dust flying around. So I would stick it in my oven, close the door, let it dry, and then heat it at 350 and cook it for like 20 minutes. And then I could let it cool off, and this will be ready for sublimation. Um, because these ceramic tiles come already white. There's no need to put a coating on it, a type of color coating. If it was a piece of wood and you want to paint it white, then you have to use a special white paint, and then on top of that, put the clear coat of polyester resin. Yeah, I don't know either. Remember when I made the error a couple of weeks ago where I actually did not remove the coating, but yet it sublimated through it? Something to do with that. Something like that took place in the back of the glass. Okay. I guess Pete left. I hope we didn't upset him. He's a nice guy. He actually provided me with some paper that I do appreciate. And I am very grateful for that because it opened up my eyes to something I have been ignoring, and that is metallic papers. Okay, let me load. Any questions? Please pop them right now on the chat before I go ahead and leave. Let me get my slideshow ready. Any suggestions for next Sunday? Please put them in now. Let me get this queued up. And then the other graphic. So ask me, what would you like to see me do next week? I have a Pro 200, have a Pro 100, I have the 8550, I got the Pro 1 and the P800. So just name anything you would like to have demonstrate. Also sublimation. So um, I'll go ahead and plan to do that. I'll have to come up with some ideas, of course, and some imagery that will work with any of these suggestions. But feel free to ask right now. Whatever you want to talk about? Maybe we can just talk about theories. We can talk about processes. We can talk about whatever. Um, it's not a problem with me. And I know some of you are a lot smarter than I am. So go ahead and suggest something that I should bring up or maybe try to demonstrate or examine, explore, whatever. All right. So that, with that note, if no one asks at this point, I'm going to leave you guys. I'm going to finish extracting some ink here for these bottles and then head on upstairs. We got to go out and get a gift card for our pseudo granddaughter. I think she's turning 12 tomorrow. So after we get home, we're going to go ahead and head on over to our friend's house. It's a big farmhouse, beautiful. And we'll have a party. Jeremy's going to be there. Nathan's going to be there. Brian and I think Judy has to work, but Mr. and Mrs. Mooney will be there. And so it'll be fun. All right. How about we discuss different photo papers and their best uses? So I have a ton of different sample papers, a ton. So I'll bring them out. I'll show you what I have. And then you guys tell me what you would like me to do on what printer. Okay. So that sounds like fun to me. So good. All right. Excellent. And then next week, while we are on live, just suggest whatever you want. I'll try to come up with something. I always try to answer questions that I get asked during the week. Okay. Or maybe I upload a video, then I realize, wow, 3-4 years ago, I talked about this. It's still relevant today. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Okay. I will need to we need to pick a paper, and I would need to, prior to the live stream, create a profile for both printers. Okay. Yeah, exactly like you just say. That sounds good to me. And then we'll try different types of images and see what conforms best. People ask me, Jose, oh, I love this one. What's the best paper and the best printer? Yeah. Do you have a whole week to sit with me? Yeah, no. So we'll just pick a paper and then compare it with two printers, say the P800, which now it has no roll on it. So I am free to run cut sheets. So we'll go ahead and do that and compare it with the 8550. We're talking about, best compared to what people consider not professional. But I think it is. I think it has professional qualities. All right. Harold says, thanks, Jose, and all the other printers doing things that make us rethink things. Of course. Of course. All right. My boss is a Chinese trained major in the Taiwanese army, became a doctor in University of Wisconsin. Also became a pathologist. Also became a PhD. He had a PhD and MD, so he went by PhD, MD, and he always said that. What was it he said? Oh God. Anyway, he left a little phrase that I used today. You cannot argue with success. I don't care how you get there. If you did something different from the normal procedure and you ended up with something better, we're going to adopt your new procedure. Don't argue with success. Your procedure succeeded in just knocking out the old accepted method. And we did that several times. We actually came up with many different procedures and different assays, in the term of in the world of immunohistochemistry and also molecular pathobiology. Big names for all kinds of really weird things. All right, that's it. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week, folks. Hang in there. Continue printing. Bye-bye, everybody.